And me thinking about this fetus about his head, woman in the fetus and soft part doesn't help either. It matters. Oh God. Anyways, let me move on. This was supposed to be a fight with Nick Ring versus Constantinos Philippou. I guess 3, but of course Nick got sick, so this fight was pulled out. So get well soon, Nick Ring. And of course Philippou will keep on training. So, anyways, moving forward. This is another one of those events, those fights that were not necessarily exciting. So let me call that Francis Carmont versus Tom Lawlor, and the winner is Francis Carmont via split decision. Yes, Francis Carmont. I mean, this is one of those, like I said, these fights that were not necessarily the most exciting. I mean, yeah, there were submission attempts via Tom Lawlor with the guillotine choke, and Francis Carmont he was in so much trouble. But like I said before the fight, there was submission attempts, ground, person against the fence and everything like that. But the fight was boring. It wasn't very exciting to even call it. It just went all over the place, but there wasn't really much action that was really impactful, to say the least, except, like I said, Tom Lawlor's guillotine choke attempts. Other than that, congratulations, Francis Carmont, on his split decision victory. Like I said, it wasn't the most exciting, but he got the win, so that's what matters at the end of the day. And in the co-main event, Martin Kampmann versus Johny Hendricks, and the winner is Johny Hendricks via a knockout, which of course was 46-second knockout towards Kampmann. So that's basically what it all was. It's just as long as a commercial. Basically, this fight. But basically what happened was when they started, they were just eyeing each other, of course, trying to swing and throwing punches and everything. And then, of course, next thing you know it, Johny Hendricks just hit him once, and actually didn't hit him again straight to their face. Martin Kampmann just went down. He just went down, and just like boom, 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 flop, and that's when Johny Hendricks did another hit. Referee had to push him off. So Johny Hendricks has such a knockout power. First he knocked out John Fitch in 12 seconds. Now he's knocked out Martin Kampmann in 46 seconds. Are we looking at the future UFC welterweight champion? I think so. Now, whether he does it by knocking out Georges St. Pierre at some point, or Carlos Condit, or anybody else that gets in his way, this guy is a future, I would say he's a future welterweight champion. And I think at some point UFC management need to give him that title shot. Let's see what he does with it when that time comes. But congratulations on that co-main event, even though some people say it wasn't much of an event. Well, it was more exciting than some of the other fights in this whole event, I will say that. So, congratulations, Johny Hendricks. I would probably say, maybe it's safe to say, future welterweight champion, perhaps. Let's find out in the future. Anyways, and speaking of that, main event, UFC welterweight championship on the line as Georges St. Pierre, the returning healthy champion, was defending his title against Carlos Condit, who not only was a challenger, but he was also the interim champion after he beat Nick Diaz. Well, of course, Georges had a torn ACL and he was injured for about a year. So, of course, this was a 5-round war. Oh, my goodness, 5-round war. Georges and Carlos Condit pretty much in the first round. Of course, Georges without striking him, but Carlos Condit didn't do too bad himself. He was able to land some good kicks and some punches, too. And then basically what really boiled down to it, Georges ended up taking him down. And then by second round, basically, Georges took him down and had him grounding and pounding him. And had him so controlled. Carlos Condit tried so many submission attempts, and of course he kept on defending himself from the back, and he did very well. He did very well defending himself. Georges didn't have an advantage for a long time, and then by the third round, something really happened. Despite the fact that Carlos Condit had a cut in his eye, he was getting beat up and everything, and yet out of nowhere, he was throwing some good punches. Out of nowhere, he threw a nice roundhouse to Georges' head, top of his head, and Georges just went down. And of course, Carlos Condit had a rocky moment. He just like, okay, I'm going for the kill now. I got him. He was going for the kill, and people were excited. People were were cheering and everything. And Georgia was like, he was in trouble. I thought Carlos Condit may have probably finally got him, where he was actually able to pound hound him. And then but then what happened was, rather than staying on top of him and standing up, he actually decided to go down and try to ground and pound at him, which, of course, Georges decided to flip around and decided that not only was he finally got on his feet, he was finally able to rise up, and then that's when the rocky moment for Condit was over. Because from that point forward, in that same third round, George was able to get on top of him again, and pounded on him, and even tried to nearly even choked him out, but that didn't happen. And in the fourth round, the same was going on again. Georges St. Pierre took him down, like several, I'm talking about a good few times, ground and pounded him, and things like that. And then even Carlos Condit reversed for a while, tried to ground and pound him, but then Georges once again reversed it again, and decided to ground and pound him again too. So it was a mess, and Georgia was a mess to himself. He got cut in his eyes, below both of his eyes, not in his eyes, but below it, not on top. So, and then by the fifth round, they were both a little bit tired, but at the same time, Georges was still going forward. He was still, throwing good punches, and Carlos Condit was landing some strikes, backing him up more. And then on top of that, Georges finally got him in the ground and pound position again. He was fine. He had him mostly in the side. The reason how he was so good was because he was actually able to at least get more near the side control, not full side control, because Carlos Condit had him in a half guard. That's Carlos's one of his saving graces right there from really getting hurt, was that half guard. The full guard was one thing, because the full guard, Georges St. Pierre had more of an advantage. But with the half guard, Georges still had more of an advantage, but he did not have the full advantages like he wanted. But it was still enough to really do a lot of damage that he wanted to do towards Condit. So when it boils down to the whole decision, the winner by unanimous decision, and still undisputed UFC welterweight champion, Georges St. Pierre. Yes, so Georges finally was able to do it. He won. He had a little ring rust, yes, I am not doubting that. At the same time, that's what happens when you are off for about a year and you haven't really trained. You had your torn ACL, various things like that. You ask yourself, can I do it again, and everything else. And he came back and he did it. He did it again. He sure, I would have liked to have seen him taking him out, like the way Anderson Silva takes out his opponents. But a win's a win. So congratulations, Georges, on an awesome knockout, drag-out victory right there. So what's next for Georges St. Pierre? Wow. Is he going to fight Anderson Silva? There's a lot of talk about that. You know what? Like I said before, and I've said this before, and I'll say this again. If they're going to have this fight happen, let Anderson Silva stay the middleweight. Let Georges stay the welterweight. Don't have them change any weights, neither one of them, for each other. Let them fight. Let's see who the real better man is, no matter what weight class. Then screw the weight class. Let's see them in their natural way that they're comfortable with, and let's see who is the better man once that happens. Let's see. If you're gonna do it, let's do it. But keep them at their weight class, and that way, it should be an excellent fight. And like I said, back in the day, when UFC first started, they didn't have weight classes, and smaller guys beat bigger guys. So what's the big deal? Let's make it happen at some point. Let's make it happen. So that's about it for UFC 154. It was a pretty decent night overall, and it wasn't the greatest events I have seen in a while, but it did deliver some goods, so I can't complain about that too much. So, any event, I'm going to get going. I got some stuff I got to get done before I go home. So, any event, oh, by the way, before I go, I just want to get some feedback about this. What do you think about this whole Patrick Cote versus Alessio Sakara, as far as the comments with that situation, regarding the referee, the judging, and disqualification and things like that? I'd like to hear more feedback about that. What do you people think about this whole thing, about this whole ridiculousness with this that type of the ending. Of course, you guys can comment on any other fights you want, but I'm just asking you what do you guys really feel about this qualification victory that Pedro Cote have, this whole backhand. What is your stance on this? How you guys feel about this? So their feedback would be greatly appreciated on that. So anyways, I'm standing with Thunder Heart, aka Bear. I will get going. So take care, everybody. Of course, have a good time partying, but also party moderately, responsibly, and be safe. Healing, it is all that is.